Congressman Lafayette, thanks for joining us this week.
Yep.
So before Congress leaves session for the President's Day recess, we got a couple of items to talk about. First off is one we've talked about over and over and over again. It's a little bit like Groundhog's Day. It's the Keystone XL pipeline. Talk to us about what's moving on this.
Well, it's now been sent to the President, and so both houses have passed it, and it's on President Obama's desk, and he's got a choice. He can either veto it or sign it. All indications are that he's going to veto it. It's really the only mystery at this point in time is the tenor of the veto, because if he comes out swinging and just really lambasts the Keystone Pipeline, there are a number of Democrats who voted for the Keystone Pipeline. There are a number of labor organizations who support the Keystone Pipeline, and they are nervous that he's going to further fan the flames of people that are already upset that he's taken this position. But I think that the next shoe that'll drop is he'll issue his veto, and we'll see what he says in the veto message.
Well, and I know that there were Democrats across the aisle in both the House and the Senate, but in terms of an override, there doesn't appear to be the votes necessary.
Yeah, I don't think they can get to 290 in the House and 66 in the Senate. Maybe 66 in the Senate. I mean, if they pushed real hard and some things fell into place. But 290 in the House is, I think there's 245, 246 Republicans. You have two vacancies with one Republican member passing away in Mississippi and one resigning. So there aren't 290 votes.
It's hard to get 290 members of the House to agree on anything,
yes,
whether or not it's bright outside or not.
Well, it's hard to get two members of that.
This is a very good point. The next issue I want to talk about was the Department of Homeland Security funding bill. It's another issue we've been talking about. It's a leftover from last year. They punted a lot of it tied up in the fight over President Obama's executive orders on immigration. Talk to us about what's going on and how does this end up playing out?
Well, this bill is in big trouble, and it's interesting. I was with about 24 Republican members yesterday, and they're nervous because the deadline is February the 27th, and so next week they're not here, and so they'll come back in the mid-20s, 22nd, 23rd, whatever that Monday is, and then they just have until Friday to get it done. And the news today is, I mean, this just startles me. Yesterday, the Senate, at the House's request, sent over two new Republican senators, Shelley Moore Capito of West Virginia and Cory Gardner of Colorado, two big kind of stars who used to be in the House. And their message was to the House caucus, there aren't 6 votes to get this done. We cannot break the filibuster and get to 60 votes. The Democrats are more united than they've ever been before, and we're not going to get the 6 votes necessary to do this. And they did it. They went over and gave that talk with the purpose of saying to the Republican House members, so we got to work this out somehow. It's interesting, in today's paper, you have a group of Republican hardliners who are calling on Mitch McConnell to use the nuclear option and blow up the filibuster, which they, again, Republicans went crazy when Harry Reid did it.
Right.
But, that's just the way it goes around here. But to blow up the filibuster and just pass it with a majority vote, that would, one, it's not going to happen because Mitch McConnell doesn't believe in that, and two, that would lead to all kinds of problems around here. So my bet, if I had to bet, is you're going to wind up with a continuing resolution, and it'll probably be a year-long continuing resolution on the Homeland Security bill, which means it'll be a clean bill that just spends money for the Department of Homeland Security, but it doesn't deal with the President's executive orders at all.
Do you think this could be a political negative for Republicans? If we get close to the deadline,
right,
I can envision nightly news stories about what's not going to be happening as a result of not funding this.
Oh, it's a nightmare. It's too bad for Republicans that this issue of immigration falls under the Department of Homeland Security. Because, you look at the young woman, the 26-year-old woman that was just executed by ISIS, and you look at all of the things that are going on around the world when it comes to the war on terror, and God forbid there should be a domestic terrorism event, and Republicans, whether it's right or wrong, and the argument can be made that because they didn't fund the Department of Homeland Security, that left us vulnerable to whatever it is. It's horrible. It's a bad strategy. It's bad thinking. And it's bad politics, it's bad policy, But again, I mean, we've talked about this before. You have a group of Republican members who really don't care.
They don't really care about whether it's bad policy or bad strategy.
No, they don't.
And you mentioned the death of the American woman at the hands of ISIS. That brings us to the last subject I want to talk about, which was the White House finally sent over their request for authorization of use of military force against ISIS.
Yep.
And I think this is one of those ones I think is a little interesting because things don't neatly break down on the kind of red-blue team. You've got a coalition of more dovish Democrats and some libertarian-leaning Republicans who have serious misgivings about it. You've got kind of a broad middle and on both sides who seem generally supportive. And then you have some more hawkish members who are saying, we need to see a more specific strategy. This doesn't go far enough. What can we expect to see moving forward on this in the weeks and months ahead?
I think you'll see a substitute drafted by somebody, and I don't know who that somebody is, but probably two. One from the Democrats and then one from some Republicans, because you do have all these different camps. And so the president's ask on use of force is 3 years, and he has some language in there that it can't be an enduring conflict, and it's designed to sort of hit at what happened in Iraq. So the Democrats that you referred to, the dovish ones, are the ones who are nervous, including Mrs. Pelosi, who's the minority leader in the House, are concerned that that language is too vague, and we could get into another Iraq. So you have that bunch that wants either more clarity, wants to support the president, because they're Democrats and so is he, but they want more clarity, they want it tightened up. You then have the John McCains of the world and Lindsey Graham's and some people in the House as well that think that the 3 years ties the president's hands, and that by ruling out the use of ground troops, you are also tying the president's hands, and they don't like that very much. You then have another group of Republicans that don't think it's necessary. They believe that the president under the Constitution has the inherent authority to engage in this type of activity, and so you don't need it. And then you have, I mean, the most constructive folks are going to try and work something out. And so I don't think the president's language is going to be the final product that comes out of the House and Senate. But you'll see something that's written by a thoughtful member of the Foreign Relations Committee or the Armed Services Committee that gives the president the authority that he's asking for, but takes care of the concerns on the right or the left.
So at the end of the day, you think the president does get the authorization for use of military force? Maybe not his exact language, but he's going to get something?
Well, yeah, because that again is these 24 Republicans I was with yesterday, this was one of the hot topics of conversation, obviously, because the president just sent it up the hill. And they see it as a political trap. I mean, aside from the policy, that just like the Department of Homeland Security, that if they don't authorize the use of force, and give the president some vehicle to do this, which the president says he needs, that, again, God forbid some event should occur overseas, and they think that the president, because they don't trust the president, I mean, this group don't trust the president, and they'll say, that the president will say, well, it's these Republicans' faults because they couldn't give me the use of force resolution. So a lot has to be played out over the next few weeks, but I think on this one, I think calmer heads will prevail, and you'll come up with something.
All right. Well, we'll keep watching. Once again, thanks for joining us this week.
Good to see you.